folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. You're such a sweet child, and I just love having you around. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Gershon. This week we're doing another movie review. This is The Sentinel, released in 1977, directed by Michael Winner, starring Chris Sarandon, Christina Rains, Burgess Meredith, Eli Wallach, Ava Gardner, Christopher Walken. The cast just goes on and on. Beverly D'Angelo, Sylvia Miles, just an incredible cast. In this quirky, supernatural, gothic 1970s horror film. This is the kind of horror film you gotta pay attention to because you're definitely gonna miss something. It's a very interesting film. The film opens up at the Roman Catholic Church in New York City, and the Monsignor there is having a very important meeting where the Cardinal's speaking. And he's talking all about keeping watch over things, making sure the evil doesn't get through. And the Monsignor, I guess, has some kind of vision. He's like, there's danger. So right off the bat, you know it's going to be a religious-themed horror film. And I always find those kind of films very interesting. It makes things very intense when you got religion involved in the horror. So he meets young Allison Parker, who's a very successful fashion model in New York City, and we see her on the cover of all these magazines like Esquire and Vogue, and she also does television commercials as well. And, yeah, very successful, and she's engaged to this guy, Michael Lerman, played by Chris Sarandon in the film, and he's a very successful lawyer. But he kind of has a little bit of a shady background, you know. One of his wives died. He's been married a couple different times, and he's kind of being investigated by the police for that as well. And one of the detectives is played by Eli Wallach, and the other one played by Christopher Walken, very young Christopher Walken. Kind of has a smaller role in this film, but he doesn't have many lines, but you definitely see his presence felt, you know. So what happens, we find out that Allison Parker has kind of a dark past as well. When she finds out her father dies, she goes to the funeral and she goes to visit the old house she grew up in, and she starts having these visions of the past where she apparently caught her father in bed with not one but two naked young women, and she ends up attempting suicide, and she slits her wrist. Very disturbing. And yeah, and when we see her on the set of like the television commercials or the set of a model shoot, sometimes she, you know, gets dizzy, has fainting spells, and she sees a lot of things from the past that really disturb her, you know. She also has commitment issues, I would say, because she doesn't seem to want to jump into marriage with Michael for some reason. Because we see she has a lot of issues that she has to deal with, of course. So rather than get married and move in and get a house together, she decides she wants to get her own apartment for a while and kind of get some space for a while before she can get her head wrapped around getting married and spending her life together with Michael. So we see her shopping around different apartments, and for a while she doesn't kind of find something she wants. But she runs into this realtor, Miss Logan, played by Ava Gardner in the film, who shows her this beautiful Gothic apartment. It's like this huge historical building called the Brooklyn Heights. And she finds that there's one kind of strange guy up in the top floor that just kind of stares out the window, this little creepy old dude. And apparently that's this guy, Father Halligan, played by John Carradine in the film. He's this blind old priest. But at any rate, it's a beautiful building, and the rent is, like, insane. $400 a month to have an apartment in Manhattan with a beautiful view of the skyline of New York City. Can't even imagine what that would be today. Can you imagine? You can't even get a crack house today for $400 a month. But at any rate, she does move in, because obviously you can't pass that deal up. And as soon as she moves in, she meets this quirky old man played by Burgess Meredith, Mr. Chazen. Nice enough old man, very charming, very quirky, kind of strange, but it's kind of like this old hermit. And he loves his cat, he has a big birthday party for his cat. And we also meet some of the other tenants of the apartment. This young lesbian couple played by Beverly D'Angelo and Sylvia Miles, and they're very strange, very weird, and Beverly D'Angelo's character, while they're sitting down having tea, her friend leaves her for a moment, and she sits there and, like, starts masturbating, like very weird, and she's getting really into it while she just Allison just sitting there like, what the hell is going on here? It's wild. Pretty wild movie. It's very risque at times. And she has these weird visions again while Allison's going to sleep. She's having these horrible nightmares and visions about all these people in the apartment, like, having these wild, outrageous parties, and Michael's there too, and they're all naked, and very weird stuff. And so she goes and kind of complains to Mrs. Logan, and she's telling him, like, these people are very strange. I'm having problems. I'm having fainting spells, and it's just really affecting me. And Miss Logan says, well, no one has lived in that apartment for years, and the only one there is her and the priest. And she's like, what? So she goes back to the apartment, and again she's having these crazy nightmares, and she wakes up and she sees her dead father in the apartment trying to, like, kill her, and she gets a knife and stabs him to death, and she freaks out and faints, and the police start trying to investigate it, like, what the hell's going on? She's talking about all these people that are living there that don't exist. Are they ghosts, or is she seeing things? Like, and Michael is having a hard time with her too, dealing with her, like, what's going on with you? Not only do you have commitment issues, but you can't get your head together. You can't get your head straight. So he hires someone to go look at the apartment to see what he can find, and that guy ends up getting killed and something. So now the detectives are getting involved, and they already know this guy, Michael, and they've already been investigating him about his wife's so-called suicide. And they don't believe it was a suicide. They think he did it. So they start investigating the apartment, and Allison and Michael, and all these weird things going on. And we also see that the Monsignor we met at the beginning, he knows the Father Halligan up in the top apartment complex of the Brooklyn Heights quite well. We see him having meetings with him up in the top apartment, saying, I am here, my brother, And apparently he's been speaking with him all along, and they have some kind of plan going on, it seems like, and you're like, what's going on with these people? Are they like evil? Is the church got something shady going on, you know? But it turns out that the people that Allison keeps seeing are people that are dead. So yeah, she's seeing these like evil spirits, and not only are they dead, but they are the ghosts of murderers. They were all murderers. So apparently these ghosts live in the house, and as the film goes on, we start to see how the religious aspects come into play when Michael comes to visit the apartment complex, and they go through some of the books there at the library, and she's like, well, look at all these books about all this evil stuff and protecting the house from demons and things like that, and she shows Michael one of the books, and she said, everything on this shelf is all in Latin. So she shows one of the books to Michael, and he reads, like, what are you talking about? This is all in English. She's like, no, it's all in Latin. So he goes and shows the book, and they look at it together. He's like, write down what you see here, and she's writing everything in the book in Latin, even though it's all in English. So Michael shows that to a local expert at the library or something, and it's deciphered something about watching over and not letting the evil come through, just like the Cardinals said at the beginning of the film. So something going on with this Brooklyn Heights, and the father, Halifan, lives upstairs. So it turns out that the Roman Catholic Church is grooming young Allison to take over the priest's spot, the blind priest who lives upstairs. And apparently the priest, the blind priest, is a sentinel. He is keeping watch over the Brooklyn Heights complex, because apparently Brooklyn Heights is the gateway to hell. So yeah, that's his mission. His job is to be guardian over things so that the evil doesn't escape, doesn't get through, you know. And so it turns out that the people that Allison has been seeing are these evil spirits trying to get through the gateway to hell and trying to escape and get out into the world and, you know, kill everybody, you know. And we do see that Allison does have a religious background, because at the beginning we see she had a crucifix, and the father just kind of ripped it off her at the beginning. And then throughout the film, we see her wearing it again, and she holds on to it when she's having the horrible nightmares and dreams and stuff. And we see her going to church and meeting with the priest. She actually meets with the Monsignor. So yeah, I love this kind of stuff with the heavy religious themes, and I do think this is a very interesting, quirky film. A lot of, you know, gratuitous nudity, so I can see how at the time it might have been a little bit too much and might have been a little bit too risque. But, you know, this was the 70s. They did a lot of wild stuff in the 70s. And even today, some of the stuff in this film is very disturbing. And we see this wild final act going on where, man, it's just crazy. I can't even describe it. Definitely you guys gotta check it out, though. See, it's just crazy, wild. This movie goes a little bit off the rails, gets a little bonkers towards the end, you know. And we do see that Michael is involved somehow, so I'm not going to say how, but as I said, he had a shady background, you know. But very interesting, very quirky film, and I do highly recommend it. I do give it 2 devil horns up, and thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Urshan, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared. Good evening, folks, and we got some brand new merchandise for you over at www.thehorrorkona.com, and that's CONA.com. Representing the Horror Corner. Great new design. We got the Morbid Hour live stream there, you got the Horror Hangout live stream there, and you got my nemesis, the Dark Fate. So grab your t-shirt over at www.thehorrorkona.com. And we also got this beautiful new mug. Look at that. Very, very cool. Thought that came out really nice. So grab your merchandise today over at www.thehorrorkona.com.